to item 9C, protecting the Dartmoor ponies. Councillor Steele, would you like to introduce the motion?
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. Hopefully this will be a slightly more straightforward motion, and they'll only need their green, and everybody will only need their green buttons for yes. So Dartmoor ponies have been in the press a lot recently, so I want to try and set out some of the facts, as these sort of emotive issues can rightly generate a lot of concern, but also can give rise to misinformation. So fact, Dartmoor ponies have been roaming on the moors since at least the Bronze Age, so we're talking about 4,000 years. Fact, Dartmoor ponies are classified by DEFRA as numerically endangered and listed on the UK's Native at-Risk Register. They are genetically distinct from other ponies, having evolved to survive the moor's harsh conditions, and irreplaceable through captive breeding. Fact, Natural England's new grazing contracts would for the first time count ponies within agri-environment scheme stocking calculations alongside cattle and sheep. So this is the key issue causing concern. And fact, this directly contradicts the recommendations of the Fursdon review on Dartmoor, which states, and I quote, "Ponies and cattle should not be linked for the calculation of agri-environment agreement stocking rates, and Natural England should not take actions likely to result in a decline in pony numbers. These are the recommendations that the government has accepted." Natural England have stated they are not recommending a cull. I can understand why they say that, but it misses the point. The alarm bells are ringing loud and clear from farmers, breeders and campaigners across the moors. Farmers like George Abel, who told the BBC that under the new agreements he would be forced into the horrible position of choosing between keeping ponies and paying the bills. And campaigners have warned the new scheme would force farmers to cut livestock numbers, including hill ponies, by between 56 and 89%. Natural England's own strategy talks about recovering nature, building resilience and tackling the root causes of decline. Dartmoor ponies are one of the few animals that graze invasive melina, oh God, I can't even say it now. Some invasive grass we don't want around on the moors, which cattle and sheep will not touch. So left unchecked, it suffocates the moor's biodiversity. It is dry and highly flammable. A wildfire on Dartmoor last year destroyed nearly 500 hectares of moorland. Protecting the ponies and protecting the moors are not competing objectives. They are the same objective. A contract design that pushes ponies off the moors does not advance Natural England's own strategy. It undermines it. As a former policymaker, one of those civil servants that certain councillors don't like, I can say categorically that one of the most important parts of effective policymaking is listening. Interesting. It's not something you do just once during a consultation. It's something that must be done continually. Good policymaking puts people with the knowledge, skills and experience at the centre of the decisions that affect them. In this case, it does feel like Natural England is falling short. I'm glad to say Devon's members of Parliament have listened and taken up the issue. Luke Pollard has been campaigning, and Steve Race have been campaigning on this long before it hit the headlines, and have written to government urging them to rethink the grazing contracts. And Rebecca Smith, whose constituency covers part of Dartmoor, has spoken out in Parliament on the sustainability of farming on Dartmoor, including the protection of ponies. This is a cross-party concern, and rightly so. Cattle, sheep and ponies grazing together are part of the fabric, livelihood and heritage of the moors. As the Friends of Dartmoor Hill Pony have rightly pointed out, if pony numbers drop because of this policy, there is no going back. Natural England have to get this right the first time. Given the level of concern this is generating, I strongly urge Natural England to pause, listen to the people who know the moors best, and bring their contracts into line with the review their own government commissioned and accepted. I hope all councillors here today will join me in that call. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Steele. Councillor Morton, I understand you will second the motion?
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Would you like to speak now or reserve your right?
I'd like to speak now, please, Lord Mayor.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm so proud to second this motion. I've spent a lot of my life out on the land, outdoors volunteering, so let me be straight about what this is and what it isn't. No one's ordered a cull of the Dartmoor ponies. The government's been clear it doesn't want pony numbers cut, and that matters. They've been listening. But here's the problem. Natural England sets a limit on how many animals can graze the commons, and the ponies get counted in with all the other livestock. So a commoner trying to keep the animals that pay the bills can be left with an impossible choice. No one orders, it just happens. The ponies are the ones who quietly disappear. That's the risk this motion is trying to put beyond doubt. We're asking the government to direct Natural England to take the ponies out of those schemes, exactly as recommendation 27 of the Fursdon review sets out. The government is listening. Now we need them to act, so the risk is gone for good. And I want to thank the Dartmoor Hill Pony Association. Their petition has given our special corner of the world a national profile. There's one more thing. Melania grass is spreading across the moor and it burns. I've seen the fires myself. The length of the A386 from the north of Plymouth right up towards Oakhampton. The ponies are the only animals that will eat the grass down. Fewer ponies mean more fuel for the next fire. The ponies aren't a nice-to-have thing. They're part of how the moor protects itself. They're part of our natural environment and they're our neighbours. I urge the Chamber to support this motion. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Morton. Does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Tyler.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I can't believe it's the third one on my first day. Just like to say we are listening to what these gentlemen are saying. There is a problem with Dartmoor ponies on the moors. They are only worth £10 when they go for sale, which is a problem. And I do think if there was some kind of grant scheme in place to help the farmers with these Dartmoor ponies, that would be a great idea. There is also a problem with overbreeding where the proper Dartmoor colours are changing over the years, and we need to look at that as well. But I am in support of this motion of notice. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tyler. Councillor Wood.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. I don't think anybody wants to see the number of ponies on Dartmoor reduced. They're an intrinsic part of a landscape which we all love when we are on the moor. Hiking on the moor is wonderful. Seeing the foals being born is quite incredible, and it's one of the few places in this country you can see something quite fantastic. They need to be protected. I'm really grateful that this motion has been brought forward. As you know, we put forward a slight amendment to include Rebecca Smith under paragraph 5. I haven't seen, appreciate you've accepted it verbally, I haven't seen it printed that it's been included. So I just want to make sure that all members are aware it's been accepted and exists, because it's not currently on the website, but I don't know if they've read it. So I just want to make sure that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. I think we can all confirm it's been agreed. Councillor Macleay.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and to Councillors Steele and Morton for bringing this motion. When I first heard the news about Dartmoor ponies, I thought to myself, oh, there's no way, forgive the pun, that the government would do this. Dartmoor ponies are an iconic part of Dartmoor and a welcome sign on my walks in the moors, less so for my greyhound, who is utterly terrified of the ponies, despite being about the same size as them. So in my reading of this issue, I looked to environmental lawyers and activists, as it can be tricky to see the wood through the trees or the moor from the pony in this case. My research took me down rabbit holes about commoning, conservation, government targets, the diets of Dartmoor ponies, and often led me feeling more confused and conflicted as time went on. Dianca Priest, a nature campaigner in Bristol, has an excellent Substack article on this issue that tackles some of those grey areas head on that I really recommend reading. I think there's much in this motion that members can agree on. Dartmoor ponies are an iconic part of our natural and cultural heritage. Their numbers have declined over many years, and they play a unique role in mitigating the biodiversity of the moor through conservation grazing. Their declining numbers should concern us all. But I also think we should be careful to not oversimplify what is a really genuinely complex issue. For example, the use of the word cull is a really emotive term, and it doesn't really accurately describe what is being proposed. There is no proposal for government-led cull of Dartmoor ponies. The concern, as many involved in this debate has pointed out, is changes to grazing arrangements and environmental payment schemes could make it less viable for commoners to keep ponies, leading to a gradual decline in numbers through economic pressures rather than organised cull. That distinction is really important, because if we misunderstand the problem, we risk proposing the wrong solutions. The challenge facing Dartmoor ponies isn't just one policy or one organisation. It's about the economics of commoning, the reality faced by commoners, the need to restore habitats, and ensuring environmental schemes are properly recognise the value that ponies bring. If those incentives are wrong, then even well-intentioned policies can have unintended consequences like we might see from this. So while I support the aims of the motion of securing a future for Dartmoor's ponies, I also hope we approach our representations to government with the nuance and care that it deserves. The answer is not to set conservation against commoning or farmers against environmentalists. The answer should be to work with all of those involved, as has been indicated, to design policies that support healthy ecosystems, sustainable livelihoods, and thriving future for Dartmoor's ponies. So, for example, on some things that could be doing better, some landowners feel that the new policy is going to force them to cull ponies because they have to keep more profitable livestock like cattle. There is funding available through DEFRA, but it isn't accessible because DEFRA's having website issues. So that's a real tangible thing that we could call on to be improved. It should also be considered that a one-size-fits-all policy on Dartmoor isn't really appropriate because the conditions across the moor are so changeable. If we can do all of those things, it's not only going to be the best thing for the ponies, but for Dartmoor itself. So while I support aspects of this motion, I think genuinely the issue is too complex for me to understand without some outside authority and guidance from all sides of the debate. So I'll be abstaining today, but I really support all of the calls and the work. It's just that piece of, it's a lot more complex than what I think I have the understanding of at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McLean. Councillor Loveridge.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. It's not about culling these ponies, it's about managing them, gelding these stallions so we're not overproducing all these ponies. That's a fact. They need to be gelded. Thank you, my Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Loveridge. Is there anyone else? Councillor Bryce-Delve.
We had a really nuanced discussion about this issue in a group meeting. I just wanted to flag that there's a particular sentence in the motion which says very clearly, and I think this is a quote, this is not a direction to cull. And so we had to be very careful with the wording, and the two councillors involved in proposing this wanted to make sure that that nuance was in there. But I think, as has been said by a few speakers, it was about concerns over unforeseen consequences, and I think that's been well communicated today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce-Delve. Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Steele, would you like to sum up?
Sure, thank you very much, my Lord Mayor. Thank you for the contributions from all the councillors today. They're really helpful. I particularly just want to pick up on the point that Councillor McLean made, which is kind of gets to the nub of the issue. I was trying to be very kind of careful with how I framed this. I didn't want to be sensationalist around because there was this 90% cull figure. It's just the fact is sometimes policy can, whilst be well-meaning, have these unintended consequences. My core thing that I'd be saying to Natural England is don't let ego override that listening, where listen to the experts, aka the people on the moors that know the moors. That's why I was trying to bring through the voices of some of the people who are concerned about this issue. Because the fact is, they're the ones raising the alarm bells. They're the ones saying, this is what will be the likely consequence. And I completely agree. I ended up going down many different rabbit holes on this with the reading that I was doing. I fully agree that it's a complex issue. And that's why my determination is this is quite a blunt policy instrument. It does feel a very one-size-fits-all solution. And it very much feels like, from the perspective of a policymaker, it's a really neat, tidy way to look at this, of going livestock numbers. But on the other hand, it's the fact that if we do get this wrong, if it does go ahead, and the consequences that the people who are experts who live and work on the moors are saying is going to happen, then we could end up without not having the Dartmoor ponies, and the fact is we can't get them back once that's happened. So given that these are this is such a complex issue, that's why I'm saying I think they need to pause. They need to step back and think again, because there's this level of pushback from people implies to me that actually there's these consequences that maybe when they were developing the policy, whilst well-meaning, is causing such levels of concern for farmers, breeders, campaigners. So it's a case of encouraging them to sort of stock take before they make a final decision on this. And I think that's the important point, that actually the government isn't powerless in this process. The Secretary of State can either issue guidance or a direction to an arm's length body to make them listen to their kind of steer on this. And the fact is, the Fursdon review was very clear. They said not to include pony numbers in livestock calculation figures. It is, so that's against what, you know, the UK government has said they wanted to accept. So I do think there is a real role here in which national government can just provide that clarity and force Natural England to go back to the drawing board, so that we don't end up in a situation where Dartmoor ponies just disappear, like my colleague Councillor Morton said. So yeah, as I say, I urge all members to support me and Councillor Morton on this motion, so we can send a clear message that Plymouth expects the government to honour its commitments with regards to Dartmoor ponies. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Steele. We'll move to the vote on the motion now. Please vote using the buttons on your unit. Green for in favour, red for against, and amber to abstain. The motion is therefore carried.